It's a celebration of America's freedom. Welcome to the Marc Scaringi Show. The Marc Scaringi Show is your place for a weekly discussion on making America great again. The important political and legal issues of the day, a celebration of the Constitution, and traditional American values. Marc is a practicing attorney, a former senatorial candidate, a Donald J. Trump-endorsed delegate, and a defender of the Constitution. His goal? To put America first. And now, celebrating America's freedoms, here's attorney Marc Scaringi.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Marc Scaringi Show. This is your place on the dial for our weekly discussion of the important legal and political issues of the day. You're welcome to call in at 717-540-0580. That's 717-540-0580. You can send me a tweet at Marc Scaringi, and I'll read your tweet on the air. For all my columns, podcasts of the show, of prior shows, and a look at some great merchandise, you can check out the MarcScaringiShow.com website. And today we're broadcasting on Harrisburg 100 Facebook Live. And so we'll take your comments that you post on the Harrisburg 100 Facebook Live, and we'll get you into the show that way. So you can listen on WHP 580, iHeartRadio, and Harrisburg Facebook Live. Well, the United States Senator John McCain, after a lengthy battle with brain cancer, died 1 week ago today at the age of 81. The federal government has ordered a 1-week period of mourning. Today he is being honored at the Washington National Cathedral. Former Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama have just finished delivering their eulogies. Former Vice President Joe Biden gave an emotional tribute to John McCain in Arizona, where he lied in state in the state capital of Phoenix. Biden is serving as a pallbearer for his funeral, along with actor Warren Beatty, former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, former Democratic Senator Russ Feingold of Wisconsin, and McCain's former Chief of Staff, Mark Salter. Tomorrow, on Sunday, a private service will take place at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and then his body will be laid to rest in the U.S. Naval Academy Cemetery. So just moments ago, at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., former Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush delivered their eulogies to the deceased United States Senator John McCain. Former President Barack Obama spoke of the present moment where the Obama said, "So much of our politics, our public life, our public discourse can seem small and mean and petty, trafficking in bombast and insult, phony controversies and manufactured outrage. It's a politics that pretends to be brave and tough, but in fact is born of fear," Obama said. President Obama said of John McCain that he called on us to be bigger than that. He called on us to be better than that. So that's just an excerpt of the eulogy delivered by former President Barack Obama. And I wonder what my listeners think. Was President Obama speaking about the current occupant of the Oval Office, Donald J. Trump, when Obama talked about today, currently, our politics seem mean and small and petty, phony controversies and manufactured outrage? Let me know what you think. You can call in 717-540-0580, 717-540-0580. We're talking about the life and legacy of United States Senator John McCain. Well, former President George W. Bush also delivered his eulogy, and Bush said, "John was above all a man with a code. He lived by a set of public virtues that brought strength and purpose to his life and to his country." Former President George W. Bush added that John McCain was honest no matter whom it offended. Presidents were not spared. He was honorable, always recognizing that his opponents were still patriots and human beings. That's a small excerpt from the eulogy delivered by former President George W. Bush for United States Senator John McCain. I wonder what my listeners think about what George Bush said. Did John McCain, above all, was he a man with a code? Did he live by a set of public virtues that brought strength and purpose to his life and to our country? Call in 717-540-0580. Let me know what you think. about John McCain's life and legacy. Let me know what you think about the eulogies delivered by Barack Obama and George W. Bush. We also just a few moments ago heard from United States Senator Joe Lieberman, a Democrat turned independent, and he talked about how way back in 2008, when John McCain was the Republican nominee for president, challenging the Democratic nominee for president back then, Barack Obama, who was then a United States Senator from Illinois, Joe Lieberman said that John McCain reached out to him and had a discussion about Lieberman, the Democrat turned independent, joining the Republican ticket for vice president under John McCain. And Lieberman said that McCain had a far-out idea of asking a Democrat to be his running mate. And when he first talked to me about it, Lieberman said, "You know, John, I'm really honored, but I don't see how you can do it. Even though I won my last election as an independent, I'm still a registered Democrat." And McCain's response was direct and really ennobling, according to Lieberman. "And that's the point, Joe," McCain said to him. "You're a Democrat, I'm a Republican. We could give our country the bipartisan leadership it needs for a change." So there is right from the mouth of United States Senator Joe Lieberman talking about how John McCain wanted him on his ticket in 2008 because Joe Lieberman was a Democrat. And McCain thought that with a Republican and a Democrat on the presidential ticket as president and vice president, that the two of them could lead the country in an era of bipartisanship that McCain thought was necessary to effect change. That wasn't to be. Eventually, we all know that John McCain selected then the governor of Arkansas, Sarah Palin, to be his vice presidential nominee. Oh, where did I say Sarah Palin was from? Arkansas. Well, that was another presidential nominee way back in 1992. You'll remember Bill Clinton was from Hope, Arkansas. Sorry, Sarah Palin from Alaska, and that was a surprise decision that took the media and the establishment by storm. But the interesting point here is that John McCain was reaching out to a Democrat to join his ticket. And I wonder what my listeners think about that brief period where McCain was considering bringing Lieberman on his ticket to be his vice presidential candidate. You can call in 717-540-0580. We're talking about the life and legacy of John McCain. The eulogies also on the list of those speaking was, of course, Meghan McCain, Senator John McCain's daughter, who has a place on ABC television's The View, where she speaks her mind about current policies and politics. She has become, or probably has always been, a critic of the incumbent Republican president, Donald J. Trump, and she speaks against the president and his policies and politics, and also his personal life. And she speaks out against the way the president has treated her father, John McCain, and that's of course understandable. She's a proud daughter of her father and rises to his defense as good daughters should. But we'll talk more about Meghan McCain's eulogy of her father, United States Senator John McCain, at the National Cathedral that was just delivered a few moments ago. After we return from this brief commercial break, we're talking about the life and legacy of John McCain. You're listening to the Marc Scaringi Show. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Now, more of Marc Scaringi on News Radio WHP 580.
And welcome back to the Marc Scaringi Show. This is your place on the dial where we talk about the important political and legal issues of the day. We're talking about the life and legacy of United States Senator John McCain. Former Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush just finished their eulogies for the deceased senator at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. And then we also just heard from Meghan McCain, the senator's daughter, where she delivered a tearful eulogy, a poignant and beautiful eulogy on behalf of her father. But she, like President Obama, took some shots at the current occupant of the White House. Some veiled shots, but nonetheless, everyone in the audience and those listening around the country to the live broadcast were sure to draw the conclusion that former President Barack Obama and Meghan McCain were talking about President Donald J. Trump. Meghan McCain said, "The America of John McCain has no need to be made great again because America was always great." So there she's taking a direct shot at the campaign's slogan, an oft-repeated phrase by the president, that he's making America great again. Meghan McCain taking exception to President Trump's use of that phrase and saying that America was always great because of John McCain. So there's the daughter speaking up for her father. She referred to the family and friends, as well as the current and former leaders, political leaders, who were gathered there at the National Cathedral to, according to Meghan McCain, to mourn the passing of American greatness, the real thing, not cheap rhetoric from men who will never come near the sacrifice, those that live lives of comfort and privilege while he suffered and served. There, Meghan McCain is talking about comparing the suffering that her father endured at the Hanoi Hilton during the height of the Vietnam War, compared that to the life of luxury and privilege and comfort led by Donald Trump, the son of a very wealthy New York area business leader. And Meghan is not happy about the fact that President Trump, according to McCain, engages in cheap rhetoric and that he never sacrificed for America the way her father did. So a pretty stinging rebuke of the current occupant of the White House from Meghan McCain that she delivered from the altar of the National Cathedral as part of a eulogy for her father. I'm interested to know what you think about Meghan McCain's eulogy, or the eulogies delivered by the former presidents, or what your thoughts are on the life and legacy of United States Senator John McCain, Republican from Arizona. You can call in 717-540-0580, 717-540-0580, or you can post your comment on Harrisburg 100 Facebook Live, and we'll get your comments read on the air, and we'll hear what you think. I thought Meghan McCain was pretty sharp and caustic in condemning the current occupant of the White House. It's interesting that many of those who delivered the eulogies, Barack Obama, Meghan McCain, condemning the meanness and the smallness and pettiness of current politics, obviously referring to Donald Trump, yet John McCain and his family, who put together these various funeral services, chose not to invite the president. Was that an act of pettiness itself? Was the decision by those in the McCain family and the former senator himself, who intentionally did not invite the president of the United States, is that an act of pettiness? One wonders. But I'm interested to hear what my listeners think. You can call in 717-540-0580, and let's open up the phone lines and let's hear what you have to say. We have Linda from Lancaster. You're on the Marc Scaringi Show.
Hi. I just think it's really petty to use a funeral to take pot shots at our president. I think that's just ignorant. And Obama and for Meghan to do that, it's out of place to do that, in my opinion. That's not what a funeral or eulogy is supposed to be.
Well, thank you, Linda from Lancaster. I appreciate having the benefit of your view there, and I'm going to hang up and comment on that, and I'm going to give the other listeners an opportunity to call in. I think Linda from Lancaster is right on point. This is not the time or the place to criticize President Trump. It seems odd coming from a man and a family who so openly despise President Trump to use the time when they should be solely focused on the life and legacy of their dear father, who was an American patriot and hero, who sacrificed greatly for our country in Vietnam, who lived a life of service to our country in the Congress. It seems to me they should focus their efforts on his accomplishments and his achievements, his life and his legacy that he leaves to the country, and not use the eulogy for this deceased leader to criticize the White House. It's like, they complain that we can't get away from Donald Trump and his tweets and his sharp and caustic put downs and condemnations, but yet they're engaging in it too, and they're engaging in it at the most inappropriate of times. And you have to give accolades to President Trump for respecting the life and legacy of John McCain, for staying away from the funeral services. He knows he wasn't invited, and he's not wanted there. So he's doing nothing to interfere in this beautiful honoring of the life and legacy of John McCain. Yet he's really taking some shots from Meghan McCain, from former President Barack Obama. We'll hear from some other listeners who've called in. Scott from Lebanon, you're on the Marc Scaringi Show. What do you think about the life and legacy of John McCain?
Hey, I'll tell you what, Mark. It's been with the services this week, from being out in Arizona, coming to Washington. I mean, I think to honor his service, and I've voted for John McCain back in the 2008 election. I think he's been a pretty good conservative senator throughout his career. With Meghan McCain, as far as the shot today, I'm a President Trump supporter. I'll vote for President Trump again in 2020. I think he's doing a great job. I think, one of the dumbest comments, I think, of the campaign, the presidential campaign, as far as with the interview, when he made the comments as far as Senator McCain at the time, it's one of them where, if you could get that back, I think he'd probably take that interview back and not use that rhetoric as far as explaining as far as his indifferences with Senator McCain at the time. And as far as with, the slogan, Make America Great Again, we were faltering in the world as far as from a leadership standpoint in foreign policy, which I feel President Trump was referring to it in trade negotiations and how we, as far as in protecting our businesses and manufacturing and for whatever that is, I think the same way we took a step back over the years. And, I think throughout the campaign, President Trump was mentioning as far as make America great again, that is where he was honed in on, I think, as far as policy making in Washington, not in favor of the United States. I think it was all out there. But again, with the comments, it's a tough time. I think Meghan McCain, through her media career here a little bit, I haven't heard a lot of comments from her as far as in the indifference with President Trump on policy and things of that nature. Personally, he's you take a shot back at that because out of the tweets and the comments that President Trump has made, and back in the campaign, I think that is one of the stupidest things he ever said.
Well, I couldn't disagree with that, Scott from Lebanon. Thanks for calling. I appreciate the call. Scott from Lebanon is referring to the unfortunate, regrettable comment that then candidate Donald J. Trump made at I believe it was a convention of Christian conservatives. The moderator was Frank Luntz, the pollster, who was someone who became a never-Trumper, so to speak. And the president made that regrettable statement about how he doesn't like John McCain. He doesn't like, his heroes are those who don't get caught, referring to McCain being caught and made a prisoner of war in Vietnam. Then candidate Trump made that comment after McCain had referred to Trump supporters in Arizona as crazies. And so the president took it a little too far in his response, and I think the president regrets that statement. It's not a good idea, and it's the wrong thing to do to discount John McCain's service to our country simply because he was shot down and captured. He was certainly had put his life on the line for America and needs to be lauded and congratulated for that. But Trump took a little too far, but he's reacting to McCain's comments about Trump supporters as crazies. They're McCain evidencing a pettiness and a smallness and a meanness that his eulogists today denigrate Donald Trump for. It's the irony of ironies, but I guess that's a part of eulogies. They are can be somewhat ironic. And I know we've got some more callers on the lines, but I've got to take a brief commercial break. We're talking about the life and legacy of deceased United States Senator John McCain of Arizona. You're listening to the Marc Scaringi Show. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Let's get back to the Marc Scaringi Show on News Radio WHP 580.
And welcome back to the Marc Scaringi Show, your place on the dial, where we talk about the important political and legal issues of the day. We're talking about the life and legacy of United States Senator John McCain, now deceased. Before we continue on that topic, I want to give a brief public service announcement. Scaringi Law and URL Insurance Group are conducting a free Medicare seminar covering the different Medicare parts and drug plans. And you can learn how to shop for coverage on Wednesday, September 12th at 8:30 a.m. at the URL Insurance Group offices at 500 Nationwide Drive right here in Harrisburg. It's actually right down the street from the WHP iHeartRadio studios. For more details on this free Medicare seminar being co-sponsored by Scaringi Law and URL Insurance Group, if you'd like to register for the event, you can contact Jason at 717-657-7770. That's 657-7770. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. We have the life and legacy of United States Senator John McCain. He passed away 1 week ago today. He's being mourned across the country. We just completed the eulogies and the services for him at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. We've got a comment on the Harrisburg 100 Facebook Live. The left and media have no shame in their anti-Trump hatred. And I think that's revealed in the media coverage of the life and legacy of Senator McCain and in some of the eulogies delivered by former President Barack Obama and regrettably parts of the eulogy of Meghan McCain, John McCain's daughter, which was an otherwise heartfelt and memorable and mournful and beautiful eulogy. But she took a few stabs at the president. She addressed her father's critics. She said, a few have resented that fire for the light it cast upon them, for the truth it revealed about their character. So regrettably, she's choosing the time and opportunity of her father, of delivering a eulogy for her father, to condemn Donald Trump and others who she believes did not live up to his high character. We'll take some more calls. You're listening to the Marc Scaringi Show. You're welcome to call in, 717-540-0580, 717-540-0580. Let's hear from Susan from Palmyra. You're on the Marc Scaringi Show. What do you think about today's funeral service for John McCain?
Oh, hi, Mark. Thank you for taking my call. I'm a first-time caller. I watched, I think, most of the funeral. I came in a little late. I missed Meghan McCain's portion. But I've got a bit of a bone to pick with you. In even asking the question of your listeners, the questions, what do you think of Meghan McCain's jibes at, was Barack Obama referring to President Trump? The man has died. He didn't want the current president at his funeral, and you're bringing him right back in. And I don't know that he didn't invite him because of deep, of the level of not liking him, or if he knew that it would make everything divisive to have him there. And his message was the opposite of that. And so you're also inviting the very outrage that they were talking about. You're inviting a discussion about politics instead of a discussion of the man.
Well,
I mean,
Susan,
it's one day and it's his funeral. I wouldn't mind hearing, how did he meet his wife? I mean, everybody's had time to do research on John McCain, which is a long career, long before the last 3 years or so. I wouldn't mind hearing about some of his family life. How did he get into politics? Some of the really human interest, because a human has just died.
Well, Susan, I think you raised some very good points. This is a radio show about politics, though, and we're covering, so to speak, the eulogies that were given at the funeral. I agree with you that if John McCain did not want President Trump at his funeral, that President Trump should not be at his funeral, and that's what has happened. The president respected the wishes of Senator McCain and his family. I think that if Trump had disrespected their wishes and had attended, it would have really put a pall over the entire funeral. But I'm pointing out that the eulogies delivered, at least by Barack Obama and Meghan McCain, did not live up to what they said the legacy of John McCain was. If the legacy of John McCain was about honor and service and not being petty, not being mean, and not being small, then they're to some degree denigrating that legacy when they choose the time of the eulogy to attack President Trump. And so this was an opportunity for Meghan McCain to talk about how John McCain met his, I guess in this case, his second wife, because I think Meghan McCain's the daughter of McCain's second wife. So this would be a great opportunity for a real public interest or a snapshot into John McCain's private life, but that is obscured by Meghan McCain skewering the President of the United States. And so I thank you for your call, Susan. I think you are.
And I will say I agree with you in that she did the same thing. I agree with you in that she brought it up, but we have to start lifting up, and it can be a show about politics and still talk about John McCain's career and not let her hook you into it. Rise above it.
Okay, I will. Thank you, Susan, from Paul Myra. I appreciate that. I will. We can rise above it, and we can talk about some of the, I guess they would be the legislative accomplishments of United States Senator John McCain. There's no question about his exceptional and outstanding military service for our country and the sacrifice that he endured. But he served most of his adult life as a member of Congress and the United States Senate. So let's hear from our listeners. Call in and tell us all about the significant legislative accomplishments of Congressman John McCain or Senator John McCain. Let's hear about it. I mean, how did John McCain, as a congressman and as a senator, live up to the ideals that are being articulated by his eulogists today at the National Cathedral? How did John McCain make America better, make America greater, make America stronger? Call in and let me know how John McCain made your life better. John McCain was a public servant who served the citizens of the United States of America for many decades in the United States Congress. So let's hear it. Let's hear how John McCain has made America greater. Call in 717-540-0580. That's 717-540-0580. We'll take a call. Michael from Harrisburg, you're on the Marc Scaringi Show. And what are your thoughts on the life and legacy of John McCain?
Thank you for letting me speak with you today. I'm a veteran, both Navy and Army, and I just want to know, it's been going on, they're acting like he was a president, every day, airing every day on TV, at the cost of taxpayers. And my whole thing with him as a veteran, with all the veteran scandals, with the VA and everything, nothing was accomplished during his tenure as a senator. I don't even remember him putting any kind of legislation towards the veterans to help the veterans. And not inviting Trump, okay, that's good. But how would he hammer on Sarah Palin? Because I thought she was the one that brought life to his campaign. And the only reason why I voted for McCain was because of Sarah Palin. And then to uninvite her, and they want to say it's not politics, he's part of what Trump's doing, draining the swamp. McCain has been part of the swamp. And thirdly, Megan saying that, the poor people that have served, and trying to say the poor people, well, her mother's a multimillionaire. Isn't she something to do with Coca-Cola or one of those families in the beverage business? So Megan's been blowing a lot of smoke since she's been on The View, since she's been on The Five, and since she's been on the night. She used to host a night talk radio. And I just think that it's overblown. I think it's all of this is just to be put in Trump's face. It should have been done 2 days ago. And I just want to know, the cost to the taxpayers for everything that's been going on.
Well, Michael from Harrisburg, thank you for your call. Appreciate your views. You raise a lot of points there, some very interesting points, talking about Meghan McCain being born to wealth and privilege, yet condemning Donald Trump for being born to wealth and privilege. There's a little irony there. And talking about Barack Obama condemning Trump and Trump supporters for being petty and mean and small, yet John McCain not inviting his own vice presidential nominee, Sarah Palin, to attend any of the funeral services is a stinging rebuke of Palin and could be perceived by some as an act of pettiness and smallness and meanness. Sarah Palin never said one negative thing about John McCain. She came onto that campaign in 2008 and lifted it up and gave it a real birth or a rebirth of energy and enthusiasm for McCain's candidacy, and yet she is blocked out of the funeral and denied an ability to honor a man that she thought was a terrific leader and always spoke so highly of. We'll talk more about the life and legacy of United States Senator John McCain when we return from this brief commercial break. You're listening to The Marc Scaringi Show. Stay tuned.
Now back to The Marc Scaringi Show on News Radio WHP 580.
And welcome back to the Marc Scaringi Show, your place on the dial for constitutional conservatism, where we talk about the important political and legal issues of the day. You can call in 717-540-0580, 717-540-0580, or you can send us a comment. You can also listen on Harrisburg Facebook Live and post a comment, and we'll read it on the air. We've had lots of calls today from our listeners concerning the life and legacy of United States Senator John McCain. Before we continue, I want to make another public service announcement. Scaringi Law and URL Insurance Group are conducting a free Medicare seminar covering the different Medicare parts and drug plans. You can learn how to shop for coverage on Wednesday, September 12th at 8:30 a.m. at the URL Insurance Group office, 500 Nationwide Drive right here in Harrisburg, just down the street from the WHP 580 and iHeartRadio studios. For more details or to register for the event, contact Jason at 717-657-7770. And we've got lots of callers on those phone banks. Hold on for 1 second. I just wanted to address Susan from Palmyra had called in, and she's rightfully pointing out that we should be talking about the accomplishments of John McCain instead of kind of nitpicking on the eulogists and what they said during the funeral at the National Cathedral. So call in 717-540-0580. Tell me about how John McCain as a legislator has made America great again, or better. I guess he doesn't like us to use that phrase, making America great again, because Meghan McCain said America was always great because of men like John McCain. But one of probably the most notorious legislative proposals was John McCain teaming up with Senator Ted Kennedy, the liberal Democrat from Massachusetts. in putting together the McCain-Kennedy immigration reform bill, which was denounced by conservatives as creating a pathway to citizenship, amnesty, so to speak, for illegal aliens entering our country unlawfully. That bill went down in flames and was a signature failure of John McCain as a United States senator. So there is one effort by John McCain to create significant change to the public policy and the laws of our country that ended in a great failure. John McCain was successful in working with Senator Russ Feingold, Democrat from Wisconsin, on the McCain-Feingold campaign finance law. That of course, the impetus for that came about because of John McCain getting kind of wrapped up in that Keating 5 scandal from the 80s and the 90s, and McCain pledging to lead a life in public service where he would not be tarnished by any allegations of any improprieties involving campaign donors of his. So he led this effort to reform our campaign finance laws. Conservatives like me opposed that effort. All McCain did was put into place greater restrictions and limitations on the freedom of speech, on the freedom of expression, on the right to donate and contribute to candidates of your choice. The McCain-Feingold bill was one of McCain's greatest accomplishments, according to the media. Of course, a big chunk of it was struck down by the United States Supreme Court in Citizens United versus the FEC because it's unconstitutional. It unconstitutionally restricted the right to free speech and free expression. So those are the only two that I can think of. I think both were terrible for our country, for our Constitution, for our freedoms. Thankfully, the McCain-Kennedy immigration amnesty bill went down in flames, and thankfully a chunk of the McCain-Feingold campaign so-called campaign finance reform bill has been struck down by the United States Supreme Court as a violation of our constitutional rights. But I'm interested to hear from Susan from Palmyra or others if you want to call in and tell me, what are John McCain's great legislative accomplishments as a congressman, as a senator, where he made America better, where he made our lives better? I'd like to hear those. Remember, McCain also voted against the repeal of Obamacare. McCain also voted against George W. Bush's tax cuts in 2001 and 2003. But I'm interested to hear what McCain has done good for the country as a senator or a legislator. We'll take some phone calls, and I want to apologize to our listeners who've been waiting so long on these phone lines, but let's get you in here. Scott from Lebanon, you're on the Marc Scaringi Show. What are your thoughts on McCain's life and legacy?
Yeah. Hi, Mark. I just wanted to remind everyone about how mean the Democrats were to John McCain back in 2008. I think allowing them to go there now and heap praise on him is hypocritical. And the line that President Trump used about he likes his heroes that were not captured, he got that from Chris Rock. That was part of Chris Rock's comedy routine back in 2008. And he was going around the comedy circuit repeating that line. I think he probably even said it on the Oprah show. So for people to only remember Trump saying it, and back in 2008 when Chris Rock said it, no one had a problem with it. And in fact, the Democrats were running around talking about how they thought John McCain was not fit to serve. They were questioning his mental faculties, and now to hear them stand up there and heap the praise on him, it just, the hypocrisy is just so thick, it really disgusts me.
Well, Scott from Lebanon, thanks for the call. Appreciate that. I agree. When John McCain was challenging Barack Obama for the presidency in 2008, of course, the media and the Democrats pounced on him and derided him and portrayed him as the worst kind of politician. But that's because he was challenging the media's candidate, Barack Obama. The media and the Democrats love John McCain whenever he is being all mavericky, as Sarah Palin would say. Whenever John McCain goes mavericky or is the maverick, it's always against the Republican Party and the traditions and principles of the party. It's always when he goes against conservatives. That's when the media gives McCain the wonderful title of maverick. It's when he's going against what the Republican Party is supposed to be all about. We'll take some more calls. Phil from Wiconisco, you're on the Marc Scaringi Show. What do you think about the life and legacy of John McCain?
Thank you, John McCain, as a veteran, for serving your country. One. Thank you, John McCain, for allowing our taxes to stay high. And what else did you say he did? It was so wonderful. Thank you for making our taxes stay high. Thank you, John McCain. Thank you, John McCain, for helping the VA become what it is today. What did he do for the VA to change it for the positive?
Yeah, I can't think of...
you see what I'm trying to say, don't you? Get my point.
I get your point, Phil.
I get my point, because I'm at the point where, yes, eulogize him. He did serve our country. But as a veteran, the VA's a disaster, and everybody's trying to be spiteful in the VA. People that sent me letters from the VA under the Obama administration tried to help me, and Pennsylvania failed, of course, including Ortiz. The deputy secretary sent me a letter. Now, under Trump, they won't help me. You know why? They're trying to be spiteful to Trump. Isn't that wonderful how everybody under Trump is trying to spite veterans, and Trump's trying to do his best. And you can't get through to Trump, of course.
Well, Phil from Wiconisco, thanks for the call. I can't think of anything that the United States Senator John McCain did to improve the lives and the healthcare delivery system received by veterans in our Veterans Administration, but I'm happy to hear from my listeners who can correct me if I'm wrong and set me straight and tell me what John McCain has done to benefit veterans. I'm all ears. I congratulate McCain for his service to our country in Vietnam, and he was, the sacrifices he went through are unparalleled. I've got time for one more call. Nirmal from Middletown, you're on the Marc Scaringi Show. What do you think of the life and legacy of John McCain?
Yes, hi, Mark. I campaigned. Pardon me. I worked in Harrisburg. I made phone calls for John McCain in 2008. And I was so disappointed that this man, the campaign that he ran, was so weak. He never challenged Obama. And he should not. He could have won that election if he had if he had used the right strategy and all that. Okay, now what people have been commenting, I've been hearing that. John McCain was a selfish, self-centered man. He wanted to get praise from the media. He had no principles, at least that we know of. He would bow down to the policies of the Democrats and the liberals because he would get invited on these Sunday shows. And so that's what John McCain was.
Well, Nirmal, thank you for your call. I only have a few seconds left. I appreciate what you say. Some pretty harsh words for Senator John McCain from Nirmal of Middletown. Democrats and the media love Republicans who don't put up a strong fight against the Democrats they're running against. I can't disagree with that. There's no question about that, and that's why McCain became a media darling, because he was never able to truly take it to Barack Obama in 2008. Well, that's about all the time we have this week. We talked about the life and legacy of United States Senator John McCain. He's being mourned across the country today. And I want to thank you for calling in, and thank you for listening on Harrisburg Facebook Live and WHP 580 AM and iHeartRadio. Tune in to the Marc Scaringi Show next week, same time, same place. Thanks for listening.